Okay, because I am an English teacher, part of my job is to teach vocabulary, to deliver words and phrases that students may encounter in their academic lives, as well as their day-to-day existence that may be important in their having a full, deep understanding of the world around them and your connections with and to that world. And because I'm also a credentialed math teacher, it's also important that I promote a numerical fluency, an understanding of concepts and ideas that involving data and statistics and the language of science and logic. But it is Friday, and today I don't want to elaborate on the meaning of obsequious or solipsism, and I'm not going to delve into the quadratic formula or linear matrices or anything like that. Today I want to talk about two boys that I see every day in my classroom. Two boys I've known for more than a year now. Two boys who are very much alike, and two boys who live worlds apart. Call them Bobby and Joey. Bobby and Joey are both good boys. Neither Bobby nor Joey are saints. They're probably both above average readers, but neither one really likes to read too much. Bobby and Joey can both work really hard when they need to. Neither one usually feels the need to until the last possible minute. Both Bobby and Joey are big boys. The kind of strapping young lads that football coaches hope they'll see out on the field. They kind of wish they had a little more desire, a little more ambition, but being over 6 feet tall and 200 pounds each, that's a good start if you're a football coach and what you're looking for. Bobby and Joey are both pretty popular. Everybody likes them and they like everybody. If you're feeling generous, you might call them outgoing, gregarious in the extreme. If you're hoping to get something done in class and feeling somewhat less generous, you might call them loud, obnoxious, and disruptive. But even then, you know that neither one has a mean bone in his body, and the truth is both of them have always treated you and me with respect, most of the time. And once they've been corrected in class, they always get back on track. And that usually lasts for 2, 3, sometimes 4 minutes at a time. I've never met Bobby's dad. I've never met Joey's dad either, but I suspect that both of them are proud of their sons and let them know that only as a last resort. Because most of the time they're busy reminding both boys that they're knuckleheads and they need to get their act together, they need to get off the couch and take out the trash or help clean out the garage or turn down that god-awful music, and wondering why, if they borrow the car, they can never manage to put gas in it before they bring it home. Because in all of that, Bobby and Joey are pretty much alike. And in all of that, Bobby's dad and Joey's dad are pretty much alike too. But there is a difference between Bobby and Joey, and a difference between Bobby's dad and Joey's dad. Because both dads have a responsibility that they don't want to face up to, that they wish they could put off, they wish it wasn't at all necessary, but they both have a fear that it might be important. Bobby's dad knows that he has to have the talk. He needs to talk to Bobby seriously about girls. He needs to make it clear that it is important not to be stupid, not to be irresponsible, not to do anything, take any chances that could change his opportunities, his options for the rest of his life. He wants to see his son go to college, get a job, get a career, make a name for himself, and thinks there'll be time for girls later. And all that talk is uncomfortable anyway. And man, isn't this the same kid that was only interested and only had time for sports and video games yesterday? It's when did things become so important and when did things become so real and you had to have the talk? Joey's dad knows he needs to have the talk too, but it's a different talk. Joey's dad wishes the only talk he needed to have with his son was about girls. That might be easy, but this isn't easy. It's uncomfortable and it scares him more than he would ever want to admit. And that's where Bobby's world and Joey's world diverge. Because Bobby is white and Joey is black. And that's why today's vocabulary lesson looks at the phrase white privilege and what that might mean. 999 times out of 1,000, if police roll by Bobby hanging with his friends in the corner of the park, they're going to roll right by. And if they notice them at all, they're just going to think they're a bunch of rowdy punks, annoying, a nuisance perhaps, but nothing to worry about. And maybe a part of them, in the back of the policeman's brain, might even still wish that they could still be hanging out like that. Being stupid, just being ridiculous, not having any worries, not a care in the world. And 99 times out of 100, if police roll by Joey and his friends hanging out in the park just the same way, they're going to roll by just the same way. But 99 times out of 100 is not the same as 999 times out of 1,000. And if this is one of those times, when the police do decide to stop and talk with the boys, 999 times out of 1,000, they're never going to see Bobby as a problem, never view him as a threat, never feel that their lives are in danger. Even if he gets mouthy and stupid, the police will keep their heads, set him straight, and eventually they'll go their separate ways. And 99 times out of 100, the same will be true with Joey. But 99 times out of 100 is not the same as 999 times out of 1,000. Getting stopped one time in 1,000 and having things go bad one time out of 1,000 of those stops means that things will go bad one time in 1,000,000. Getting stopped one time out of 100 and having that go bad one time out of 100 times that happens means that something's going to go bad one time out of every 10,000. That's today's math lesson. The difference between 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 1,000,000 are what makes Bobby's dad and Joey's dad worry about having different talks. Because when Bobby's dad hears the news about another young man that's been shot to death in the streets, he can sleep easy knowing that if the world told the truth, those guys were probably punks who were looking for trouble anyway. Joey's dad can only wish and hope and pray that those guys were punks. Because if that were true, maybe his son will be safe. If that were true, then teaching him to speak respectfully, to move carefully, to act cooperatively might be enough to keep his boy safe. Might be enough to let him sleep peacefully at night. Let him rest easy whenever his boy is out of the house, whenever his precious son is out of his sight. The difference between knowing police are good and knowing that punks get what they deserve and only being able to hope and wish and pray that the police will be good and that only punks get what they deserve is the difference between the worlds of Bobby and Joey. Because Joey's dad knows different from wishing and hoping and praying. He knows that you don't have to be a punk. You don't have to be looking for trouble. Sometimes, maybe 1 in 10,000 times, you only have to be black. The difference between 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 1,000,000, that's what white privilege means. It's the difference between the world of Bobby and the world of Joey. White privilege is not a vocabulary term you're ever likely to see on any of the standardized tests that you're ever likely to face. Not the CASP, not the SAT, not the AP English exam. But maybe it should be on those tests. And it is definitely a term that all my students should understand, should know that it is a thing, a real thing, in the real world that we inhabit and that they will all inherit. Because understanding it is the first step in eliminating it. And in a world that values justice and believes in equality in the eyes of the law, we need to eliminate it. There are those who want to avoid this idea, who shun controversy, who deny that white privilege even exists. But more than I or any of us involved in education need to teach vocabulary or history or math, we need to teach students, and we need to teach them that we need to teach them both that they need to consider and understand all sides of an argument and complex issues before they come to a decision about them. But also, once they have made their minds up, then they do have a right to be heard. Your thoughts should be considered, your feelings respected. We need to teach everyone to understand why professional athletes might take a knee so that we can understand what it means to take a stand. I actually started working on this idea a couple weeks ago, before Tulsa, before Charlotte. But those events didn't make me feel that this was a time to avoid the issue, that it's too painful, too recent, too raw to talk about in class. It only made it clear that this is something we need to be talking about, we ought to be talking about. That's what I wanted to say today. My students will, I'm sure, let me know what they're thinking. My viewers, that's what the comments are for. Till next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again, soon, hopefully. The difference between 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 1,000,000, that's
Teachers,
what...
please pardon the interruption. We have your results for your 2016 homecoming course. Your freshmen do